multitude of questions online for this office. Just ask a few of them, I'm sure. We could be here till midnight. As sheriff, you will be supervising and managing law enforcement personnel. Please tell us about how you intend to do this and what experience do you have? Sam?
The Sheriff's Department is comprised of 19 full-time sheriff's deputies, 5 of which are administration and 23 part-time. That is the largest law enforcement agency in this county. It also has the jurisdiction of over 445 square miles and a budget of over $3.5 million and some change. The total combined amount of law enforcement officers just in the Sheriff's Department well exceeds a lot of individual departments in this county. The leadership behind those officers is one of the key factors into how that agency performs. Knowing the money aspects behind the operation and the business end of it is another huge portion of it. And last but not least, having an effect on the community of Beaver County by following the Constitution and not playing politics is a third way of impacting the county and making sure that we have a quality that we need and the leadership to provide a state-of-the-art, cutting-edge law enforcement agency that this county needs to depend on. And managing the officers, managing the money, and keeping the people of Beaver County in mind would be my way to direct it into the right area that I feel that it needs to be taken from now. Thank you.
Let's respond.
Yes, overseeing large units of law enforcement personnel. I don't need to tell you how many people are there. What I can tell you is I've done it before. Like I said, I've overseen 60 members of a patrol unit in Uniontown, troopers, corporals, men and women. I've overseen 25 members of a criminal investigation unit, as well as 35 members, 36 members of a special emergency response team, SWAT team, tactical and negotiators. I've done it. I think you start with those principles that I talked about. Honesty, integrity, trust, leadership. You lead by example. Number one, you show them how to be a law enforcement person, how to be an individual involved in law enforcement. You do it by example. The second thing that you do is establish rules. And you do it in a way that's in black and white. Everybody gets treated the same. Everybody sees what the rules are, knows what the consequences are if they don't follow the rules, and you hold them accountable. Politics aside, there are no politics in my sheriff's office. Everybody gets held accountable. Everybody knows what the rules are. I think that anybody here who's ever worked a job where they walk in and their boss is wishy-washy, they change the way they do things from day to day, from week to week, knows how difficult that can be. I want to establish rules that are in black and white, like I said, and hold everybody accountable to them. Thank you.
We're going to start with Tony on the next question. The current sheriff has been brought up on charges for not following the letter of the law. Also, his spending has exceeded the allotted budget. How would you ratify this issue?
Two separate issues, kind of, I think. Letter of the law. Interesting. I think that lead by example thing that I talked about a second ago, that goes to the letter of the law. As a law enforcement official, there are no gray areas. The law is black and white. Gray areas are decided by the courts. But when we enforce the law, it's pretty much black and white. Do we have some discretion? Absolutely. But the law is the law, and you follow it. And that starts at the top. That starts from the leader. That starts from the sheriff himself, whoever that might be. You have to trust that your sheriff is going to follow the law. Second part of that? Budget.
Yeah,
Budget.
Exceeded the allocated
Yeah,
budget.
if anybody here a couple of months ago, the Beaver County Times did an article comparing Beaver County, Butler County, Washington County, all three similar sized counties. Actually, Washington and Butler are slightly larger than Beaver County. In general, after accounting for money that's being brought in, revenue by the Sheriff's Department, in general, those two counties, Washington and Butler County, spend about $2 million on the Sheriff's Department. Do you know what Beaver County spends? Sam said it, $3 million. Close to $3 million after accounting for revenues being brought in. We're spending 50% more than similar sized counties. Why is that? Because it's being mismanaged, number one, and because there's political patronage going on out there, giving jobs to people when there's no work to do. The Beaver County Sheriff's Office budget needs to be reined in. And we need to do that in such a way that we're having, my plan, having an open discussion with the chiefs of police throughout the county, asking them what the Sheriff's Department is doing well and what we're not doing well. And then start to rein those things in. I could give you a lot more details about that, but I'm out of time. I got a plan to cover that. Thank you.
The question is about overspending the allocated amount, and also the current sheriff has been brought up on charges because he was not following the letter of the law.
As far as the budget goes, I gave you the figures, and our current sheriff would be no stranger. It's public knowledge. He knows what his restraints are and the amount of money he has to operate in. However, if you take into consideration political hires, political favors, just as Mr. Guy had said, that has a huge impact on your budget when you let political agenda interfere with the normal operating costs of the agency that you were in charge of actually managing. And under poor leadership and poor business skills, I believe that that's why it's been let out of hand. And the misuse of his authority, when you start entering into arguments because of union contract disagreements that you yourself initiate, or bids for process of business, and it turns into litigation as far as a union for employees, and then costs more tax dollars for solicitors. I mean, to me, that is a waste of taxpayers' money. And as far as following the letter of the law is the law. And perhaps if he knew the law and understood the Constitution, he may not have been in the situation that he was. And I think that speaks for itself. Thank you.
Next question. What do you see as the major problem with the way the Sheriff's Office is currently being run, and how would you address this problem? Mr. Piccaninny.
The way I see the Sheriff's Department as being run is like the backyard garage of the man on the corner. It's not being run like a professional business. It's not being run like a professional law enforcement agency. I'm just going to throw a few things at you here to think about because we don't have a lot of time. We have almost 25 cars in the fleet of the Sheriff's Department, even though the records show there are about 35 that are registered. The majority of those cars have over 80 to 100,000 miles, and we're expecting our law enforcement officers to be safe in those cars. If the budget's managed properly, and they would be circumventing or actually circulating those vehicles in and out every 2 years and keep it in line with the budget, your equipment would become outdated and antique and worn out, number one. Number two, if you look at the money coming in and how it's coming in and where it's going out, and try to direct more attention into the cost benefits, that can put more money into your budget, and you can redirect into other areas that would need it. There's a number of areas that can be addressed. I don't have a lot of time to go over, but those are two examples right off the bat that I would say would be a good start in putting the nix to the overspending on the budget. Thank you.
Mr. Dodd, please.
The major problem, is that the question?
What do you see as the major problem, the way the Sheriff's Office is currently being run?
Major problem. Major problem in the Sheriff's Office. I think everybody in the room knows it. It's the elephant in the room. It's one word, and I said it already, politics. Politics rules the Sheriff's Department. So let me go into a little bit of detail about how we fix that. Current sheriff's been there for 8 years. Do we know how many of those hires that he's made over those 8 years are political hires? I don't. I can't read his mind. I can't get in there and say, this one's hired because his uncle worked on a campaign. This one's hired because his dad contributed to the campaign. I have no idea. So we fixed that by me going in there and evaluating every person in that department. Get their background, get their experience. More or less a resume from each individual in that department. Interview. I want to talk to each individual that's in that department. Now, and do an evaluation myself. I've done that professionally. That's what I've done. Does that mean that I'm going to cut everybody out of that department? Does that mean I'm going to go in there and slash things? I can tell you that I've talked to a lot of those members, a lot of those deputies. The overwhelming vast majority are highly professional individuals who dislike the politics that exist in that office. They're going to be retained. They're going to be given the freedom to do their job professionally without having politics interfere with that. Will there be some that have to go? Absolutely. Secondly, every new person that comes in, I'm going to establish hiring procedures similar to what I had to go through to become a state trooper to determine who belongs in that department and who doesn't. Qualifications, character, they'll all be evaluated. Thank you.
What are your top priority items to counter all the negative publicity and actions that have been associated with the Sheriff's Office over the last couple of years? Mr. Guy, would you please start?
Sure. Top priorities. I kind of mentioned really what are kind of my top priorities. But in light of maybe public relations, I guess, is kind of what the question's about. I'm a uniter. I'm not coming in there to make waves or to cause problems for people or to be all about politics. As I said before, we're going to have a new DA. I'll be able to work with any of them. There's a good chance we may have new commissioners. I don't know. I'm going to be able to work with any of them. Other row officers. I want to let my sheriff's department provide the example of how a county office is supposed to be run professionally. I want to be the leader in that respect. I want to keep good quality relationships with the media. I think we all know the current sheriff hasn't done that. Those are the ways that we kind of show professionalism. Those are the kind of ways that we reestablish trust with the citizens of Beaver County. And that's what I want to do. I want to reestablish that trust. When I got into this, one of the reasons that I got into running for sheriff is because I talked to deputy sheriffs who said that they were ashamed to tell people what they do. They were ashamed to tell people they were deputy sheriffs because they didn't want to hear the negativity that was around that. I want to fix that. I want to reestablish that trust, and I do it by all those ways I'm talking about here. Thank you.
Top priority items to counteract the negative publicity and actions that have been associated with the Sheriff's Office.
I think the proper way to handle that would be to let Beaver County know that there is a new sheriff in town and to make some changes. And first would be getting control of the budget, because that has a huge impact on you, the voters, and the people of Beaver County. So getting a control on the budget would be number one. Number two would be, as a peer to the other deputies, to let them know that you are their leader and that you will stand up for them and you will defend them as much as you would the people of Beaver County. And that's tough to do, but writing the Constitution is a huge part of that. Ultimately, working with other interagencies throughout the Beaver County, area would be a huge part of getting out to the people and let them know that there's a lot of new integrity and a lot of new professionalism in the county when you can delegate and assist other agencies who are in dire need of manpower on certain situations where they can't handle, they're not a big enough department, and you loan resources to other agencies. It builds a camaraderie there. And last but not least would be to weed out any rotten apples within the Sheriff's Department that actually give it a black eye and turn it into something shining that the people of Beaver County can be proud of. Thank you.
We have one last question. How do you see the Sheriff's Office interacting with state police and municipal police departments? Sam, will you please start?
You're probably going to get a difference of opinion here between myself and Mr. Guy on this. And I ride this along the Constitution, and my majority of my campaign has been amongst the Constitution. The letter of the law is the law, and you have to follow it. And like I said, most law enforcement agencies in the entire country, whether it be state, local, municipal, DCNR, FBI, ATF, most agencies are brought about by legislation or Congress, and the Sheriff's Department is the only one that's elected by the people, who is truly a constitutional law enforcement agency. And if you look at a state official or a federal issue that would have an officer say, well, I don't like that idea, I don't like that law, or that's unconstitutional, it's pretty much impossible for an agent or an officer of a municipal agency to not want to enforce that. However, the sheriff, and you've seen a lot of them here recently with the constitutional issues as far as anti-gun issues, where the sheriffs in some agencies down south are coming out saying we are not going to force unconstitutional laws. So I would work hand in hand with any agency that would require it, and I would never turn my back on another fellow policeman. But one thing a lot of people are unaware of is that the Sheriff's Department is truly the last line of defense for you, the people of Beaver County. Thank you.
Relationships. I mentioned I'm a uniter. I'm going to answer this question kind of in a way that is similar to what I said to FOP Lodge number 4. State police, sheriff's department, local police departments, all the other agencies out there, everybody has their role to play, but you have to work cooperatively. I don't judge the color of a person's uniform, what it says on the badge that they wear, what it says on the patch that they have on their shoulder. A good policeman, a good member of the law enforcement community is a good member of the law enforcement community. We all have our roles to play. I judge everybody as individuals. You could work for a two-man department, part-time, and you could be the best police officer that ever walked the face of this earth. You could be a state trooper, which I'm very proud to have been, and not be worth your salt. I know that. I've seen it. I judge individuals. I think all agencies should work together. When I met somebody recently who worked for the Sheriff's Department, and when he met me and he found out who he was, he says, I hate you. You're a state trooper. You were a state trooper. Kind of appalled by that. We've got a sheriff in office right now who likes those rivalries. It gives him political power. I don't care about political power. I want to start uniting people. I want to start uniting law enforcement agencies in Beaver County. That's what I plan on doing. That's how I see relationships. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our evening. We have, once again, Tony Guy here running for sheriff, and also Sam Piccaninny. You get to elect one